Hi, this is Pearl and welcome to my channel. I have my week 14 of the 2020 Project Life album here for you today. I am usually mostly Studio Calico, but I do have a few embellishments from the Ali Edwards Stories by the Month kit. So I am putting my photos in chronological order. I also printed out some screenshots from some of the emails because this is when my kids were on spring break and also when we realized that the kids were not going to be going back to school. This pandemic is crazy. So I'm going through the Studio Calico journaling cards and I'm just deciding which journaling cards I'm going to use. I am using some just filler cards as well as journaling cards, and then I'm using the 4x6 cards for the two photos on the bottom, which I printed out as 2x3, and I just wanted to journal under that. I am using the Felicity Jane date stamp as well as Stays On ink, and I have some stamps. One's from the Studio Calico kit and one's from the Ali Stories by the Month kit. And these wood veneers are from the Ali Edwards Stories by the Month kit. I want to make sure I use all of the embellishments. One thing I realize when I'm doing these layouts is I use a lot of labels which are from the print and cut from Studio Calico. I purchased the ones that go with the kit and I print those out so that I could do journaling on my photos. Now you'll see here I'm using a white eraser to go over the stamps, because when you do that you're taking some of the grime off of the stamps and it makes the stamp a lot more, the details show up more and it doesn't smear. So I use the Oh Happy Day and I put that on top of that one photo, and I'm going to use my Kokio adhesive. It's a roller dot adhesive and it works great for the wood veneers because then you don't have the adhesive in between, like the P and R. You can't see the adhesive in between the letters. Now this print and cut didn't cut the label just the way I wanted it to, so I trimmed that off and I'm going to label this. And I journaled on this particular picture. Now that the kids are not going to school, there's more time for relaxing and hanging out with the family. I'm using a Zebra Sarasa vintage dark gray pen, and I like to use gray instead of black because it's less stark and it's dark enough that it can be read. So I'm going ahead and doing that, and then I'm gonna date stamp it and also use a tiny attacher to staple this. Now this tiny attacher I purchased at a scrapbook store years ago, and she had gotten it from somewhere in Europe, so I can't find those anymore, so I'll just go ahead and put the tiny attacher from Tim Holtz on in the links down below. Now this transparency, it says April and it has like a half circle that's darker, and I'm going to stamp on it and it says one little story of life right now. And so after I stamp that, I'm using Stays On so that it dries quickly and it is able to stamp on transparencies and dries quickly. That little stamp is from the Ali Edwards Stories by the Month kit. I'm going to put a little label down and I write on there, Kaya hides in her tent to sneak off to watch YouTube. She does this when she knows she's not supposed to be watching, so she tries to hide from us. Isn't that funny? Like we can't see her. So I do that, and I always like to staple my labels just to add a little bit of dimension. Now for the title card, my title card is always the 3x4 card to the very left of my layout. I am looking through the alphas to see if there were any numbers there, and there were not. So I'm going to staple this cork circle into the middle of the 3x4 journaling card, and then I'm going to use a Felicity Jane puffy stickers to put the number 14 onto the cork. Now after I do that, I am leaving the screenshots from my email just plain. I'm not going to do anything with that. That's more just for an FYI. And this picture on the bottom is of me going through all of my kids' scrapbooks, and I took notes of where I had gaps in their scrapbooks because I haven't been consistently scrapbooking since they were born. I go through phases. Now that my 4 kids are older, I'm scrapbooking more regularly. Thus, I was able to start this channel. But before then, I had 4 kids kind of one right after the other. So when they were infants and little kids, I didn't have time to scrapbook. So I know that there are gaps in there because I don't scrapbook in chronological order. So I did want to go through and make sure that I would fill in the gaps later. Now, this picture of my daughter on the iPad is when she does her dance. She does her dance through Zoom. She does 5 classes a week, but I just wanted to document how our routines have changed. Now that we're staying home because of COVID, she's doing all her dance classes online. And luckily, we have a empty room, which is supposed to be our living room. It's empty because one day I'd like to purchase a grand piano. It's my dream. But the room is empty, so it gives her a big space for her to dance. Now, this journaling card, I was going to use this journaling card initially for the best day ever or not the best day ever, but then I decided to just put in a filler card instead. So the one I ended up picking out, it says sunshine and good feelings. So then I'm going to work on the right side of my layout. Oh, I'm going to go through some of the embellishments. Oh, that's what I was saying earlier is I realized that I focus so much on the pictures and the words that sometimes I forget to use the embellishments that come with this kit. So that is one of my goals, is to really use the embellishments that come with the different kits that I subscribe to. Now this is a chipboard that says this, and I put that onto the picture of me going through the kids' albums. Now I think that's the only one I used, and I'm looking through the Studio Calico kit as well as the Ali Edwards Stories by the Month kit. So I end up finishing there on the left hand side of the layout. Now going to the right hand side of the layout, this picture is of my daughter and I. We are coloring. She loves coloring. She is going to be a mini me. She loves crafting just as much as I do. And one of the stamps had a stamp that said color me happy, and I was like, that's perfect. After I stamped that, I'm using my stamp chamois to clean off my stamp. Now the stamp chamois is not necessarily for the stays on ink, but I go ahead and use it. That's why my stamp chamois is so dirty even though I wash it. So I'm putting another label on here, and I wrote, love coloring with my baby girl, very stress relieving. And then of course I stapled that with my tiny attacher. Now the next photo is of my daughter. She's sleeping in my bed. She's 5.5. You would think by now she would sleep in her own bed, but ever since she broke her arm when she was 1, she has not slept in her own bed, and she refuses to do it. Every once in a while we'll get lucky and she'll sleep with one of her brothers in the room, but most of the time it's just not happening. But now I'm looking through the different stamps and wood veneers and trying to decide what I'm going to use, and I end up just using a label, and that says Kaya still won't sleep in her own bed. Now I want to record that because one day when she's an adult and her daughter or son doesn't sleep in their own room, I'm going to have proof that she didn't sleep in her own room either. You know, just like my mom used to smile whenever I used to complain about my daughter. So I stapled that label, and then for the bottom picture, I just took a screenshot of my TV when it talked about the different types of local COVID cases here in San Diego. And I journaled on the bottom of that 4x6 card, what is going on with this pandemic? Such a weird time for the entire world. Who would have thought that something like this could ever happen? I don't think it was in the sphere of anyone even understanding, other than, I guess, disease control or infectious disease, I should say. But it's just crazy. So this next picture is a picture I took of my computer. I was backing up all my photos. I like to make sure my photos are backed up into the cloud in 2 or 3 places and also on an external hard drive. My laptop crashed one time and I didn't have everything backed up, and the only reason I didn't lose my mind was because I had done Project Life, so I at least had some pictures. So there's that. And I wrote, spent time this weekend backing up my photos to the cloud and an external hard drive. Now I'm going through the embellishments, and I'm going to put some embellishments, chipboards, onto the layout. I'm looking at them and trying to decide which ones I want to use. And I put the blue little circle chipboard that says taking time to clean it all out. Now the reason I put it back was because that came from the Ali Edwards kit, so the colors don't exactly match, but I decided to go ahead and use it anyway. Then I am using the chipboard that says found beauty today, and even though I get so annoyed that my daughter sleeps with me, it is so sweet that she says she loves me so much that she can't sleep in her own bed. Now, happy place I put onto the picture of my daughter and I coloring, because it is my happy place. And then I'm going to use, I also used a wood veneer that says this, and I adhered that down to the bottom right photo of me backing up my photos and videos. Don't forget to back them up. This is your public service announcement. Now, I think that's it. That's the end of my layout. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and share with someone who you think might enjoy this video as well. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.